Welcome back to John O's Sports Channel, where we do everything Championship, League One and even running, and today it is the Championship Review. It's a Championship Review of Game Week 14. And we're going to go straight into this, guys. I know you like to be quick and clean and clear. We're going to Bristol City versus Sheffield United, and Bristol City started well and they carried on well. They turned up today, didn't they? And this is one of those games where you look at the stats, and I'd read the stats off now, and they don't, to me, read the story of the game. Absolutely not. We've got Bristol City on 45% possession, 12 shots, 2 on target, 1 goal, and we have Sheffield United 55% possession, 11 shots on target, 11 shots, 4 on target, 2 goals. Sheffield United winning 2-1. But Bristol City caused a lot of problems for Sheffield United, and Sheffield United just couldn't get going all the way through this game. And 90% of this game, I think Sheffield United were pretty poor in that they just couldn't get through to get easy shots on goal. And Bristol City did a damn good job of keeping them out. The penalty for Bristol City, that was a dire dive by the goalie, wasn't it? I mean, you see it in slow motion, and he literally misses the ball by a good yard, 3 foot. It's a big distance between his fingertips and the ball, and the only thing his hands grab is the player's legs. So it is a penalty. They go ahead quite decently, and I think that was probably the proper score at that point in time. And then we get the Sheffield United second from Oni, or one, or whatever you want to call him. And for Oni, it looks like it's a sort of accidental header to me, because he's facing the other way, and he sort of side stroke back headers it, and it goes in the net. And Sky's there saying, "Oh, what a brilliant header!" And I'm thinking he wasn't even looking in the way it was going. Either brilliance because he knew where the net was, or total accident, and I'm sort of banking on the second one myself. Then we had the sending off, and he really did have to do it, didn't he? I mean, it was going to be most likely a goal for Sheffield United. He had to take him down. And unfortunately, he gets a straight red because it's a clear and obvious goal-scoring opportunity. So Dickey goes off, and Sheffield United nick it. Is it a fair result? I don't think it was. I think on the whole, Bristol City deserved the win in this one, and they really did turn up, and they really did try hard, and they managed to keep Sheffield United under the cosh for, or at least stopped Sheffield United from being able to show how technical and Premier League they are. But in the end, it was Bristol City 1, Sheffield United 2. I think Rob Dickey for Bristol City was actually probably, to me, he was a really good player for Bristol City. I enjoyed watching him, and I would say that I would give Rob Dickey my man of the match, actually, which is really strange since he got sent off. And I don't usually give man of the matches, but yeah, I found his speed through the back line was really good. So what did we say? We said Bristol City 1, Sheffield United 2. It was Bristol City 1, Sheffield United 2. And we get the correct score and the correct result. Thank you, guys. That's all down to you lot. And we will move on to Oxford versus Hull City. Oxford versus Hull City, and it started well with Hull City going straight into the attacking zone, straight into the final third, and having a good chance there. And that was the story of the first half. I'm afraid it was. This is actually one of the games that you can actually take the stats a little bit better than the previous one. 62% possession to Hull City, 12 shots, 2 on target, no goals. 38% possession to Oxford, 4 shots, 2 on target, 1 goal. So two shots on target each, 1 goal for Oxford, none for Hull City. Is that the story of the game? Well, it is in part, because Hull City ran and dominated that first half really, really well, and Hull City had some really, really good shots there, and Bath, was it for those 2 goalkeepers that made the difference to this game? Absolutely. I think my man of the match would have to be one of the 2 goalkeepers, I think. The goalkeepers were certainly tested out throughout the game in different halves. Hull City doing really well in the first half, and then Oxford United coming back in the second half. Obviously, Oxford City is a few leagues further down. Oxford United coming back in the second half, and then Oxford started to pile on more and more pressure in the second half, and eventually took the lead 1-0. Now, the game itself up to that point had been mainly Hull City. In the second half, Oxford came back and started piling a little bit more pressure, and I think as soon as they got that goal, Oxford just managed to slow that game down and kill it off. Hull did have a couple of chances straight after, but they just couldn't get past that goalkeeper, and I'm afraid some of those shots were really class shots, and had they gone in, you'd have been chanting how brilliant that was and how it was going to be goal of the month. So Hull City, I think they can feel a bit dismayed at not getting a goal. They've really got to get more shots on target. You know, seeing that they only got 2 shots out of those 12, you really need to be getting at least 3 or 4 from that sort of number of shots at target, and some of those shots were like I said, absolutely brilliant. So it wasn't their fault that they didn't have any of those shots on target going in the net, but I think some of those off target were clear, were saved brilliantly and kicked away by defence. So you really can't blame Hull City's desire to win the game. As for Oxford United just managed to keep it going, keep pushing back that pressure, and yeah, it was a good game. I enjoyed it. It was a really good one for the neutral. Oxford 1, Hull City 0, and we said Oxford 2, Hull 2. We did think that people would start to come back and would start to win this. I think on the majority, people were saying that Hull City, who were in 15th at the time, and Oxford in 19th, would just, if anybody won it, it would be Hull City. And we're completely wrong. It was actually Oxford, so we didn't get a correct result or a correct score there. And we'll quickly move on to QPR versus Middlesbrough. So the QPR Middlesbrough game was a game of 3 parts, really. The first half was all Middlesbrough from what I could see, and Middlesbrough deservedly, with that goal from McGree and the goal from Conway on 31 and 35, and they went into that half-time break. They must have thought that they were going to be flying through this game and they wouldn't get any opposition from QPR at all. What I was saying in previous games is I loved the defence work from the QPR team, and loading the box against these really good teams had done a really good job. And then for Middlesbrough, they seem to think, well, we don't have to load the box with these. They're not one of the top 6. We'll just push forward a little bit more. And unfortunately, it didn't work for them. They should, I think, have pulled back and done some more of that great defensive work by loading the box when the ball's coming back. I loved that. I thought that worked absolute dream for them in the previous games against the top 6 clubs. So QPR went in there into break and they came out playing a little bit better. And in fact, it was QPR that started to do all the really good shots, and QPR that looked like they might just equalise and could actually take this game. But then they scored, and he seemed to just disappear into a cloud of thin air. And all of a sudden, we see Borough then just running riot and winning 4-1. So what happened? I don't really know. I mean, I look at the Ben Doak cross and weaving around the defender was absolutely amazing. And then you look at the and then we think that's going to be the best bit of footwork of the game, and you see Latte Lat on that on his goal on 87. I mean, how the hell did he manage to just stun the ball on the line? The goalkeeper tried saving it. He pulls it back, puts it sideways, watches the defender slide into the net. Why didn't he just go to the corner, to the line and stop? But no, he slid into the back of the net. Latte Lat goes round the sliding goalkeeper, taps it in the net with the defender that's flying into the net. And you think, wow, what a piece of footwork. That was absolutely brilliant footwork by Latte Lat. But he doesn't always turn it on like that. That's my issue with Middlesbrough. He can do amazing footwork like that and get amazing goals. And then the next game he's cancelled out or man marked out by 2 or 3 players. I love him when he's got free rein, and I think QPR just gave him a little bit too much of a free rein there. So it finished QPR 1, Middlesbrough 4. What did we say? We said QPR 0, Middlesbrough 2. But I remember saying, I put it in the notes, don't be surprised if QPR do this big blockade at the back and come out with a 2-2 draw. They didn't do the blockade, so they didn't get away with that. And we get a correct result of 2-0 because it's a Middlesbrough win. We don't get the correct score. If anybody did get 4-1, then please do comment. If you actually thought it was going to be 4-1, and I'd love to hear from you. You come on the channel and help me do the one of the prediction videos next week. Honestly, you can. So we did well. They're the stats, if you want to know them. 45% possession to QPR, 7 shots, 5 on target, 1 goal. Yeah, not bad for 45%. A couple more shots would have been due in the first half. 55% possession to Borough, 12 shots, pretty good that, and 8 shots on target, 4 goals. That's a really good conversion rate there, certainly top 6 sort of standard. And we move on to Sheffield Wednesday versus Norwich. So we will go to the stats here. Sheffield Wednesday, 29% possession, 12 shots, 5 on target, 2 goals. Norwich, 71% possession, 5 shots, 3 on target, no goals. 71% possession and just 5 shots in the whole game is just phenomenally insane. And we were watching this in the listen along, and we kept going back in, and Norwich were just passing it around the midfield. Actually, I want to say defence, but it wasn't. It was just into the midfield. They like back into the defence, back into midfield, and they were just constantly beating it back and forth into midfield. So they had a great, they really did. 654 passes for Norwich City against 253 for Sheffield Wednesday. And it really did give you the summation, the figures of what the game was like. So, what about Sheffield Wednesday? Because they really did seem to be hammering the goal quite regularly and pulling off some decent shots. Well, 12 shots out of 29% possession, it shows exactly how, when they got their ball, they would be just straightforward and having a go. I would say up to that second goal, it was almost even, but slightly towards Sheffield Wednesday. But as soon as they got that second goal, I saw a shift in the attitude of Sheffield Wednesday, and it got worse in the second half. They began. They stopped playing the clinical play, the short passes and the direct balls that they were doing all the way through the first half. That's the reason why they were 2-0 up. And all of a sudden they got too cocky, too confident. and you could see lots of long passes. So the short passes became long passes. Hey, it doesn't really matter. We're winning. We're going to win this. Boom, long pass across from the right to the left. I'm thinking at the minute I can remember it going there. Brilliant passes, but it had moved from these nice keep the game steady, keep the game calm, keep in control to being let's welly it as far as possible, but with really good passes. And the passes were really brilliant, really on target. But it was also matched by several long-range shots. So the short-range shots suddenly became long-range shots. And when they got a chance of shooting, all of a sudden Wednesday were really having a really good go at shooting from range. And this showed to me that they almost got too cocky about the fact that they knew they were going to win, too confident. A little bit of confidence is good, but because Norwich City have key injuries in key areas, I think that they just couldn't handle that style of play or the changing style of play, and it was possibly that overconfidence that actually was part and parcel of their downfall. So it finished Sheffield Wednesday 2, Norwich 0. What did we say? We said Sheffield Wednesday 1, Norwich 3. We didn't think that the injuries would make so much of a difference. I think it did in the end. So we don't get a correct result. We don't get a correct score. And we move on to Plymouth versus Portsmouth. So Plymouth versus Portsmouth, and the stats are pretty even here. And pretty, to be honest, the game was pretty even overall. We had Plymouth doing quite well, pretty balanced in the first half, I thought. And we had the second half, which sort of split into several parts. So there were several parts where Plymouth were on top, several parts where Portsmouth were on top. Some of those passes in from Portsmouth, absolutely sublime, but the front end, the strikers just don't seem to be able to do anything with these absolutely amazing balls. And I agree with the Sky, the Sky commentator saying there were so many absolutely brilliant balls coming in from Portsmouth throughout the game, and yet the front end just don't seem to be able to do anything with them. And it's a real shame because overall, Portsmouth, when they were playing really well and pushing really well, certainly up to that goal for Plymouth in 82 minutes by Obafemi, they were playing really well, and they looked like they were going to steal that game and come away with a sort of 1-0 win. But as soon as that Obafemi goal went in, we seemed to get a little bit of panic, and it was just Portsmouth pulling back and not quite having the confidence. My local side is Portsmouth, but it just looks a little bit grim for Portsmouth at the minute because they don't seem to be able to get anything from that front end. The balls in are brilliant. The ball play up to giving it to these people who can cross it in is brilliant, but the finishing is absolutely awful. And Plymouth, not to put it short bluntly, but they were just better at finishing than Portsmouth at the end of the day. Did they deserve a 1-0 win? Well, yeah, they did, because at the end of the day, their shots were more clinical. The saving prowess of Portsmouth almost kept them out and kept it at 0-0, but not quite. And there were one or two fluffs by the Portsmouth goalie, weren't there? I remember one where he punched it out straight to a Plymouth striker, and it just came straight back in. And you really can't be punching it straight from goal, straight into the middle of the box to a striker of the opposing team. It's just not going to end well. Several times it's not going to end well during that year. He's got to learn not to do that. If he's going to punch it, you punch it either way. You don't punch it straight into the middle of the box to a striker of the opposing team. So 1-0, I would say that was probably it was a fair result, to be quite honest. What did we say? We said 1-1 with a possibility of Portsmouth even getting a second win. So we didn't get a correct result, didn't get a correct score, and going forward, I can only see that Portsmouth are going to have to do something about that front end, because they've got to do better with these balls that are coming in, because the supply is there. It's just that they're not getting it in the net. Simple as that. It's as simple as that. So we, unfortunately, because it's a local side of mine, we then move on to Swansea versus Watford and the last of those Tuesday games. Swansea City and Watford, and Swansea City had the run of the green, didn't they? They really did have the ball at their feet most of the time. 58% possession to Swansea, 12 shots, 3 on target, 1 goal, that's it. The story of the game to me, though, wasn't Swansea City, it was Watford. Watford, 42% possession, 7 shots, none on target. How many times do I say, you don't get one on target, you're not going to get it in the net, you're not going to win? And that was the story of the game, really. Watford just couldn't seem to get into a position where they could actually have a free shot on goal. And I remember that last one where the guy went down the right wing, and he managed to keep the ball really, really well, and he walked it almost into the penalty area, and he slammed it into the side netting so hard the actual goal rocked and bounced back up and down again. You know, that was hit with some force. But why don't you just pass it back? Tap it back, because he's not going to score from that tight angle. If he does, then it's going to be goal of the season. And from the power he put on it, yeah, he probably did want to score that goal of the season. But that's very selfish, just like Sky said. Sky said it was very selfish. I agree with them. If he'd have pulled it back, he would have had a multiple times opportunity of scoring, rather than trying to score from that very, very tight angle and get goal of the season. So I think there was a little bit of frustration showing in Watford as after that 35-minute goal. Certainly in the second half, you saw a little bit of frustration from them. You know, trying to get into that box, trying to get an open shot. So much so that once or twice you see them, they suddenly realise there's a shot on goal and it's a little bit far out, but hell, you know, we're not going to get in the box, we're going to just try it from here. Some of them were almost brilliantly, so brilliant that if they'd have gone in, they'd have been goal of the season as well, curling from outside the box. It was to the far right and it just missed by about 4 or 5 inches, and you're thinking, a little bit more swerve on that's top corner, and an absolute stunning goal. But that's what Swansea did best in this game. They made sure that there were enough people back to make sure that any sight on goal was a sight on goal from well outside the box. So Swansea City, purely on tactical prowess and game plan, and I hope it was their game plan, because it was worked out really well if it was. To me, have to be the valid winners of this game. 1-0 to Swansea City. Swansea 1, Watford 0. I think that was a fair result. So what did we say? We actually said Swansea 0, Watford 2. Because we expected Watford to be a little bit better than that. Swansea managed to get their first couple of goals, and all of a sudden they seem to be able to score now, and it's like 5 games without a goal, and now that you can't stop them. And I hope for the fans that's true. I hope that goal drought is over. There's nothing worse as a fan, and I know that one, to watch a team that just can't put the ball in the net. Swansea at the beginning of the season had all signs that they could not only put it in the net, they could put it in the net really easily. And then they had the goal drought, and it's like, where's this come from? I look forward to seeing what Swansea can do now, and let's see how Swansea City can rise up that table. I think they can. It's quite a flat league at the minute, and they were in a position at the time, 12th, that was probably right at the top end of that flat bit. Now they're in 9th, and they're in with 19 points. And only 3 points away from West Brom in 5th. So you see how flat it is. And Swansea City now can, if they really concentrate on it, start to progress. Watford in 7th on 22 points, but that was a bit of a haphazard, lacklustre performance for me that showed a bit of unprofessionalism, I suppose, in the fact that they just started to get a bit panicky, a bit frustrated, and I think the frustration showed, and they need to, when they start getting frustrated, they need to step back a little bit, because there's nothing worse as a fan again to see your side starting to get frustrated and just starting to kick the ball as hard and fast as they can, because they know they're not going to get any further. So what was it? It was Swansea City 1, Watford 0. We said the opposite way around. We didn't get a correct score or a result there, and we can move on to Wednesday's games. So we didn't do quite so badly in Tuesday's games. We got one correct result and one correct score and one correct result other than that. So we did quite well. Into Wednesday's games, and we go to Millwall versus Leeds. Millwall 1, Leeds 0. And what did we say? Because I'm going to go into this first, and you know why. I went with you lot, and I said Millwall 1, Leeds 2, because Millwall were good at home. They're very consistent home, but Leeds are the in-form side, and they're doing really, really well. And it's hard to believe that they would find any game hard in the Championship. But I said to you all, and I put in brackets, I'm going to note down, I think it could be Millwall 1, Leeds 0. Guess what? It was Millwall 1, Leeds 0. I went with you, but if I'd have gone with me, I'd have got a correct score and a correct result. As it is, I can't claim either of them. But never mind. We go into the Millwall-Leeds game, and it was 24% possession to Millwall, 76 to Leeds. It didn't seem like that in the game. Millwall actually seemed quite comfortable and quite easily gathering that ball back. And yeah, they sort of lost it a few times, but I don't think that it didn't feel like a 76% game. Not to me, anyway. Millwall went ahead through Tanganga, and it was a really, really good goal. Now, you know, the offside goal for Leeds, I think, yeah, that was definitely offside. That's the sort of goal, that's the sort of offside decision that I like, because that was an attacking player goal hanging. He was literally stood in front of the goalkeeper waiting for that, waiting for the ball to get to him, and just hoping, I suppose, that the defenders would come with him and stop him being offside. That's the sort of offside decision I like. But Leeds just didn't have that final touch. I mean, the back pass or the side pass to a Leeds player, where the Millwall defender just dreadful touch. In fact, did he get to it? It just ran under his foot and straight to the Leeds guy, and Leeds should have buried that in the back of the net at that point. I mean, even though a quick 1-2, which was attempted, should have been really simple tapping, and there was not that many Millwall players around at the time, so it should have been a fairly easy slot in. And that was the sort of feeling I got from this game. Leeds could have finished this off so easy. They'll be really, really annoyed that they just couldn't get it in the back of the net. And I can't say it was brilliant defending or brilliant goalkeeping from Millwall. I think it was just the run of the green. They just didn't. We've got goalposts stopping it. We've got goalies stopping it. We've got defenders stopping strikes. And as a whole, it was a good game to watch. I thought it was end to end. I didn't think it was quite sort of 76-24, but that's where stats don't quite show the game. So stats don't show the game here. What does? Well, Leeds were on top for the majority of this game, but Millwall were relatively comfortable, I thought, and they didn't really ever look like collapsing. So when they went ahead on 40 minutes, I could see them keeping hold of it. And when they'd sort of beaten off a couple of those really good shots at target, they then had a good chance of making it 2-0. It came off the post from one of the Leeds players, didn't it? And headed it, and it went onto the post and out. And you think, so close to 2-0. So 1-0 to Millwall. They're very good at home. I just think that this is going to be a story all the way through the season now, and I can see Millwall continuing to be very good at home. Well done, Millwall. Well done, Millwall fans. I'm sure you're absolutely head in the clouds after a win against Leeds. Leeds, well, you should have won that. You really should have won it. But some of those misses were absolutely incredible. Not like Leeds, just not like Leeds. Somebody said on the radio on Talk Sport, I think it was just a bad day at the office, and I'd probably go along with that. So Millwall 1, Leeds bad day at the office 0. Fair result, yeah. Actually, I would say it was a fair result. Like you said, we said Millwall 1, Leeds 2, but I put in a note it was going to be Millwall 1, Leeds 0. So I can't claim anything there. We'll move straight on, will we, to Blackburn versus Stoke. So Blackburn versus Stoke, and Blackburn actually started quite well, I thought, and really did show that they were the home side. They intended to run this game as they wanted it ran. But then Stoke City started coming back into it and gently started to ease their way in. I think the goal by Manoff on 57. Let's just talk about the one they missed in the first half. I think it was a header. Manoff headed it straight at the goalkeeper from about 2 yards out. It was easier to miss the goal. It was easier to hit the empty net than it was to hit the goalkeeper, and he headed it straight to the goalkeeper. I mean, it is instant. You've got to think like as a striker, it's like bang. Where do I put it? There. Oh God, the goalkeeper's there. You can't change your mind. It's an instant decision, and it was just one of those instant decisions that was just the wrong one. Odds are that it was 98% certain it was going in an empty net and 2% certain it was going straight to the goalkeeper, and that's what he chose. But yeah, the goal really to me changed the game, and Stoke started for a while. They were really quite on top, and then all of a sudden Blackburn decided, sod this, we're going to come back, and Victor Johansson, he's played some bad games I think recently. In my eyes, he's done some critical mistakes. And talking to a few Stoke fans in August, September, and they were saying, that he's not been that great for them up to that point in the first few games. This game, he was absolutely outstanding, and some of those saves were just world class. Certainly kept Blackburn out, and Blackburn's shots were by no means weak. And by no means low class. So, they have Stoke have Victor Johansson to thank for the amazing saves and for winning. Several massive shots, several massive saves into the second half, and then all of a sudden we get that penalty. And do I think it was a penalty? A little bit soft for me, because the only part of the Blackburn player that touched the Stoke player was probably the upper arm as he sort of like touched his face, and the Stoke player went down like a sack of spuds on his back. But, ooh! It's like he's touched you with his arm. He didn't push you, he didn't pull you, there was no shirt pulling, the feet never touched. It was his arm that touched his face and he went down like a sack of spuds. Not quite sure it was a Stoke penalty, but in the end, I think 2-0, 1-0, I think it still would have been a win for Stoke City. Blackburn can feel very, very, disappointed that Victor Johansson was on such sparkingly good form, because they should have been 3. It should have been sort of like 2-3, even 4-1. But on the day, just wasn't to be. 62% possession to Blackburn, 25 shots, 8 on target. Most of those brilliantly saved by Johansson. 38 possession to Stoke, 15 shots, which is actually quite good for that possession. 7 shots on target from that 15, which is really, really good. And 2 goals, which is probably about average for 7 shots on target. So Stoke City were really, really good for their money. Game-wise, I thought it was a really good game. It was one-sided. It was one-sided towards Blackburn. I don't think Stoke City fans would disagree with that. Well, I hope they wouldn't. But they will come away the happiest because their goalkeeper saved them and kept them in the game and kept them winning the game. So Blackburn 0, Stoke City 2. What did we say? We said Blackburn 1, Stoke 1 because Blackburn, they're not in great form, but then Stoke City, their defence is pretty poor, but they can score if they really want to. But that defence just wasn't as poor as it has been. What I said in my prediction about them being a poor defence, wipe that one off. Where did you get that one wrong? Well, for this game anyway. No, not a correct score, not a correct result. And we move on to Blackburn versus Stoke. We move on to, we said 1-1. We move on to Coventry versus Derby. I'm going back onto Tuesday's games then. So we move on from Blackburn Stoke to Coventry versus Derby, and let's have a look at that one. Coventry City versus Derby, and the defeat for Coventry. Coventry 1, Derby 2. The defeat that caused the sacking of Mark Robbins, which I think personally was absolutely ridiculous. Seeing what he's done from League 2 up to the top echelons of the Championship, looking to be promoted in that promotion race to the Premier League, and not quite getting there. And you think, but was it for a few mistimed strikes and not quite on target shots? Coventry really, to me, were well in charge of this game. And you look at the stats, Coventry 70% possession, 11 shots, 3 on target, 1 goal. It's actually not so bad as stats, but then you look at Derby County, 30% possession, 3 shots. Obviously, you've got the 2 on target, 2 goals, and you think, well, it's actually officially it's 1 on target, 2 goals, because it bounced off the leg of the of Thomas. So, but I think actually that would have been pretty much on target, and may very well have caused a stretch of the same magnitude from the goalkeeper. So I think overall, Derby County will be feeling pretty lucky to come away with a 2-1 win. Coventry came back after the going down and got that 77th minute goal, and they looked like they could equalise. And that push in the back in the box was, to me, that is not a penalty because he went down far too easy. But if you take it along all the other games in the Championship, all the other games in the Premier League, that would be called a penalty. If it was called to the video screen and had a look at it, that would be a penalty. You would clearly see both hands firmly on his back, and he goes over. Doesn't matter if he went over like a sack of spuds and knew what he was doing. It should have been a penalty. And that would have been 2-2. Would it have saved Mark Robins' career? Probably not. I think that games like this are the ones that the owners are most likely to panic about, because there's so many teams on that on 15 points. I did my rant about this sacking in a previous video. Please go and see it. But you look at it, and teams on 15 points along with Coventry. So you've got Coventry 17th on 15, and you've got Hull, Luton, Preston, Cardiff, Plymouth, all on 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams on 15. It's as flat as anything, this league, and you go up above them, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams on 18 and 19. So you have to think that, was it a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction because they expected to win teams like Derby? Yes, I think it was. Was it the right decision? Personally, no, I don't. I think it's an insane decision. He's shown that he can get you out of that, out of the bottom half of any division, and he certainly has the ability and the charisma to be able to do so. If, as one or two fans said on in the comments to me, that it may be that it was a knee-jerk reaction, and Matt SB said it on his channel, perhaps it was a knee-jerk reaction from the players, and the players wanted this. Well, if they wanted it, they've got it. But who do they expect to get in? Because it's the silly season. It's the season for sackings, and at the minute there's not many good Championship managers that you would want that are out there. So good luck, Coventry fans, because that was a good display, but for that last finishing touch. So, there was 1 or 2 bad back passes as well, weren't they, by Coventry? And you just think that, again, we can't be passing the ball back in situations where there's nobody there. In fact, that's what the first goal came from, isn't it? A back pass. He didn't even look where he was passing it, straight into Jerry Yates's foot. And it would have been offside had it been a Derby. It was just, to me, not quite the right decision. Jerry Yates, he's gonna put it away if he's given it in that situation. A Derby, like I said, a Derby player slotting it to Jerry there, it would have been offside. But it wasn't a Derby player giving it to him. It was a Coventry player. 1-0 up, and you think that's the way the game was going to go. Coventry City 1, Derby County 2, and I feel for you, Coventry fans, but we did say you were doing well, but you needed to have some consistency. Most people, so in fact all people, saying they thought it was going to be a Coventry win, so I went with most of you, because Derby aren't very good away usually. And the percentages, the stats say that they weren't. A strange game to watch, strange result. Was it the correct result? I think you could play that a dozen times more and you'd not get a Derby win. But we said Coventry 3, Derby 1. It was Coventry 1, Derby 2. So no correct result, no correct score. And we move quickly, please, on to Luton versus Cardiff. So Luton versus Cardiff, and I don't think Luton had the same bite as they've had recently. I've actually seen Cardiff playing for the last few games and thought, they're actually playing some really classy football. There's no reason why they were down in the doldrums at the bottom. At the minute they're 19th, but had they lost that game, they would have been in 22nd. Now, technically, they had 44% possession. Cardiff had 56. 8 shots, 3 on target for Luton. 10 shots, 3 on target for Cardiff. Cardiff should have given away a penalty. That was definitely a Cardiff hand that rose forward and pushed the ball out past the post. And you could see his sheepish reaction. Oh, no, I didn't do that. And it's no wonder all of the Luton players were so enraged by it, because it was a penalty. But then in the second half, Luton got that goal, and I don't think that there was very many really good shots in that game. If I was as a neutral watching it at the game, I'd have been pretty disappointed. I was expecting a really good technical performance that we've seen in the past few games by Luton. We didn't quite get it. It did sort of show its head later on, and later on in the second half there was a little bit of class coming through from Luton, but I just didn't see it for 75% of that game. Winning 1-0 was probably about right in that case, because they did show more class in that last sort of 25-30% of the game. Cardiff, however, they kept battering away. More shots than Luton. They actually looked like scoring on the whole more than what Luton did, up to when Luton started playing well. Cardiff fans can take solace in the fact that they did actually play better for longer than what Luton did, but when Luton turned it on, that was to me the key change. I don't know what the change was. Perhaps somebody can put it in the comments. What did change to make Luton's abilities suddenly shine within sort of like a few minutes? All of a sudden they were playing almost top of the top 6 standard football, and nothing like where they are in the league. So it was what Luton won, Cardiff 0. What did we say? We said Luton 2, Cardiff 1. So we got the correct result. I'll accept that one, because the last 3 didn't quite go to plan, did they? And we'll move on to Preston versus Sunderland, which is one of the games that we didn't quite know how to take, because there would be no Bellingham, and it was going to be quite a difficult task to reorganise that side with somebody like him not in it, surely. Now, Preston versus Sunderland. This was actually a really tough game to predict, as I recall, because when we were looking at the fact that Bellingham wasn't going to be in the game, and the fact that he did have a tendency to be the kingpin, handing the ball out to either side, back to Bellingham, back to the left, back to Bellingham, back to the right. You start to realise that this could be quite a tough reorganisation for Sunderland. So part of us of you and me were saying, well, this could be the time that Sunderland in first could just slip up. But then, as we started looking at the Preston side, we're thinking, but Preston have been doing really well as well, but they've been slipping up rather oddly and not really getting the results that we expected them to get. Now, all that considered, we had to remember that it's not just a one-man show for Sunderland, is it? They're first for a reason, because the entire team is damn good. So we decided to go with Preston 1, Sunderland 2. In the end, it was Preston 0, Sunderland 0, and to be honest, 60% possession to Preston, 40% to Sunderland. Sunderland got 10 shots out of that, which is pretty good. 2 on target, no goals, and I think the 2 were pretty loose, very slow, bobbling balls. 14 shots for Preston North End, 2 on target, which isn't very good. Not by any means, and no goals. And you think, Preston just did. There was just a finishing. That finishing prowess just wasn't there. And I want to just say that I think again, Sky, and I don't usually agree with Sky, but Sky got it quite right in the first sort of half of the first half. They kept saying, "How did that not go in? How did you not get that on target? How did that not go in?" And thinking, some very, very good shots that just either didn't get on target and should have, or didn't go on target, but hell, how earth they missed is God only knows. Preston will feel the most disbelief at this scoreline. They really should have gone into the final whistle at least 2 or 3-0 up. Sunderland never, for me, looked like scoring. They looked disorganised, and perhaps that is because Bellingham wasn't there. Because sure as hell, they didn't look as organised. The final ball wasn't as good. Now I know Bellingham wouldn't have been creating that final ball quality, but somehow that confidence just seemed to have sapped from the Sunderland team for some strange reason. Was it because of Bellingham? Possibly, but I can't believe it. The rest of that team is so very good that I wouldn't have expected that. So on the day, 0-0 should have been. Wasn't really a fair result. I think Preston should have walked away with this one, but they didn't. Sunderland will be feeling the most happy because they know they will go home feeling that they've really been battered and they should have really lost that one. So we said 2-1 to Sunderland. It was 0-0. No correct result, no correct score. Let's go now to Thursday's game. So West Brom versus Burnley, and we said before they're just not clinical in front of goal. They're not getting many goals in the net. When they do get goals in the net, they do seem to win, so like 1-0. But they're not really clinical in front of goal, either team. And today, West Brom 0, Burnley 0 on Thursday, and it was one of, they're both underperforming, they're both not scoring, and the thing is, they're just not clinical in front of goal. And again, apart from that penalty that should have been given to Burnley, because he definitely, I think that was a penalty, absolutely. But never mind, it didn't go their way, and I think we saw bits of really good play, but then the final ball was always, what on earth are they doing? And it ended with Burnley. I mean, a few wild shots from outside the box, and West Brom a few shots from well outside the box, and it just petered out for me into a sort of very almost a sort of bore draw. Not quite. It was a little bit entertaining for me. It was just that final ball that just disappointed from both sides. Was it a fair result? Yeah, Burnley and West Brom 0, Burnley 0. I'm going to say that's probably a fair result. We said Albion 2, Burnley 0, purely because that's what you lot were saying. Because I gave them the benefit of the home advantage. Please do like and subscribe. There'll be lots more. Please watch out for the watch-alongs and listen-alongs. And it's John S.'s Sports Channel, over and out. Like and subscribe, guys.